So there's a lot of really good second-tier paint interior shops that will do a good quality paint job, do a good quality interior, but they are not going to that level of really getting into what you need. And it's more, okay, you want the, send me a picture of the airplane that you like, and and we'll throw this together for the interior. When that stuff starts to happen, the chances of the customer being really satisfied obviously go down. Then you get into the other shops that are not first or second tier that in some cases can produce some really shoddy work. Paint and interior requires more expertise and technique than anything else that's done to an aircraft.
That's a very good point. Not to interrupt, but talking with one of our interior managers, and I'm not an interior guy, don't even play one on TV, but the point, there are lots of things to consider.
Yeah, they're craftsmen.
Single stitch line, double stitches, the length of that stitch, and I know I get stuck on that, but his point was very good. If it's done wrong, it's going to wear out, or it'll pull out. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong. Other things that we end up advising people on, go back to your greens and yellows, but regardless, even if it's a more acceptable normal color, how those colors look next to each other. Yeah. Having a color sitting out here all by itself and you put another color next to it, your eyes are changing.
Yeah,
so
right.
They may love these things, but once it's on the plane, things change.
Yeah.
So that's that conversation, and one of the things that we do, and other shops probably as well, but we for sure, we will paint up sample boards of essentially really a piece of sheet metal.
Yeah.
Here's all these colors next
like.
to each other. This is what it's going to look like outside, inside. This is your baby at this point. Takes all the guesswork out. Andy and I, on this issue of talking about the interiors and the designs and things like that, and going a step above, Andy and I a couple of years ago met with a yacht designer down in Florida, and these are guys that'll deal with like a dining room table setting of $1 million. This is that world. But he made just an outstanding point. He's like, in interior, in a paint job, these kinds of things, there's a lot of emotion that goes on there. Talking with the customer, having identified what's, like you said before, what's your favorite whatever it is. And it might be a little red wagon, it may be what's your favorite car interior. I had somebody ask to make their interior look like their favorite Saab that they owned back in the day. There are certain things you can do to make it look just like that. There are certain things you can't do. When you're starting to talk about sawing metal in a seat, you've gone beyond. But you got to have those conversations with people.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just turn it from blue to green, or not green, to gray. So.
Well, it's anytime I'm dealing with a paint job, or an interior for that matter, it's very important to make sure that you're kind of not only shaping expectations, but you know what those expectations are from the client. I have a color wheel that is probably, I don't know,
a big book,
5-6 inches thick, and to me, red is red, yellow is yellow, green is green. But then I open up this wheel, it fans out, and there's 25 different greens. And then I have another book that's the same colors, but with metallics. And so I sit down with the guy and I say, okay, what do you like? And we start, picking certain things out that my eye cannot discern unless I'm looking at it. He tells me what he likes. We paint it like Phil talked about on a piece of sheet metal. And I tell him, when you get this, take it out in the sun and look at it, because you need 2 or 3 feet of it to get an idea of what it's going to look like. It looks different in a 4-inch square than it does in a 4-foot area. So you get it out in the sun, look at it, and make sure that this is what you like, because you're going to be either stuck with it or having to paint it again, and it's not a cheap process. So it's important to make them understand what's available to them, what their options are, and then come in and sit down with the coordinators or refurbishment coordinators and say, okay, these are some of the leather, these are some of the, just give them an opportunity to pick out and see what they like and what they may not even know is available. There's things that we can do that's fantastic. Stitching, like something as simple as like a diamond stitch on a seat. People love that.
Or carbon fiber on the drink rail.
Carbon fiber, all the stuff that people really like, or some people don't care. I'm sure you've had clients that they just wanted a standard paint job with standard colors. And
make it beige. Yeah.
And I've got guys like that too. But then on the rare occasion, I get the guys, and I enjoy these people. They want to do something different. They want to do something special. They want to really let their personality be displayed inside and outside. I had a guy tell me one time, when I fly into an airport and I'm sitting on the ramp, I want everyone to know who I am just by looking at my airplane. And we gave him exactly that. So
That's awesome.
But it's fun. It's nice. It's a nice diversion to get and maybe get a little creative and allow your client to be more involved in the process and really be a part of it.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap this up, the scheme that goes on that plane, to go back to the point of painting it and putting it out in the sun, this is what the colors are going to look like. I saw an example of, it was a really early Falcon 2000, and it had the factory paint job on it. They changed the paint job from long stripes that went down to a two-tone plane. The plane looks shorter. I mean, just the visual, you're standing there, it's 10 feet shorter than what it was before. The type of paint job you put on the plane, not the quality of the work, but the scheme itself, will change things. So, you know, it's a $50,000 to $250,000 decision. Yeah. So every option you can to see what this is going to look like. The main purpose of a paint job, protect the metal. Right. End of story. But then you start looking at how this rendering is going to look, the colors, and all those kind of things, as well as where are the high maintenance areas of the plane. These panels are constantly coming off and on. You know, the paint's, you know, where the wing meets the plane or the fuselage, there's going to be wear points. These types of things need to be talked about and addressed, of how you're rendering and where the stripes go, what the longevity of this paint job is going to be.
Exactly. And you mentioned something there when you were talking about protecting the aircraft. Mm-hmm. It's also important for people to understand that the process can damage the aircraft. So it's an ugly process to see an airplane that's being stripped for repaint. It's a corrosive substance that's sprayed over the entire airplane to peel that old paint off. And that being cleaned out of every little nook and cranny and crevice on that airplane is extremely important.
Before you put the other stuff back on top.
Before you put the other stuff back on there, you'll have a failed paint job and potentially corrosion and other issues. So it's the one area where I tell our clients, if you want to save money, don't do it in paint interior. Oh. We have a handful of high-end shops, including Stevens Aerospace, that we recommend. Go to one of those facilities. This is not an area where you want to cut corners and where you want to try to save $5,000 or $10,000. Right. The cost of doing so could be painful.
That's true.
Good point. This has been good. Thanks.
Absolutely.